Commander Elias Rourke had never liked politics. He preferred the silence of space or the clean orders of a battlefield. But today, he was far from both. Instead, he stood inside the polished halls of Haven Station, a diplomatic outpost orbiting the ruins of the once hostile Viraxi world. The room was large, bright, and full of alien tech. Walls shimmered like glass, and small floating drones adjusted the light based on who entered. Elias had been summoned without warning. No mission. Brief, no explanation. Just an order. Report to Chamber 7. Alone, he stepped inside, eyes scanning the chamber carefully. He was used to surprises, but nothing prepared him for the figure waiting at the far end. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her armor, a mixture of smooth silver and deep green, flowing like silk yet hard as stone. Her crown floated just above her head, circling slowly. Eyes like glowing jade watched him with a quiet power. Queen Althera of the Viraxi. Elias knew her face from reports, war files, and ancient peace treaties. She was no ordinary ruler. She was a symbol of her people's pride, cold, wise, and untouchable. But now, the untouchable queen stood before him, and she looked almost, was it worry? I thank you for coming, Commander Rourke, she said in a soft but commanding voice. Elias gave a respectful nod. Didn't have much choice. You called. Earth answered. There was a pause. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not in anger, but in thought. Let us not waste time, she said. I will be direct. She stepped forward. For a second, Elias tensed. Old memories of war echoed in his mind, explosions, broken ships, and Viraxi war cries. But she did not attack. She simply stopped a few feet from him and said the last thing he ever expected. Human. My daughter needs you. Elias blinked. I'm sorry. What, my daughter? The queen repeated, her voice firm but calm. She needs you. Not your army. Not your weapons. You. Elias frowned. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a diplomat either. So unless she needs a few war stories or help with a broken engine, she needs your blood. The room went silent. Even the drones paused midair, sensing the weight of the moment. Elias stared at her. You're serious? Deadly, she replied. He took a slow breath. You're going to have to explain. A few minutes later, they sat inside a quiet side room. It was smaller, warmer, with soft blue lights and a single table. Queen Althera sat across from him, her crown gone, her tone now more personal. She is my only daughter, the queen began. Princess Serixa. She is young, strong, and born with something rare, a genetic code tied to an ancient Viraxi defense system, a weapon hidden in her blood. Elias listened carefully. This was not some political trick. The queen's voice, though calm, carried the weight of a mother's fear. She does not want this. Althera continued. Nor did I, but it awakened months ago. Slowly, quietly, and now it threatens her life and others. And what does that have to do with me? Elias asked. You carry the key to stop it, she said. Elias raised an eyebrow. Hundreds of years ago. Althera explained. Your people fought ours. One of your ancestors saved one of mine during that war. As a gift, a bond was made, part biological, part symbolic. A shared code was planted, meant only to connect the bloodlines in peace. That bond has been forgotten by most, but our scientists recently found traces of it. And you? Elias leaned back slowly. You're telling me I'm some kind of genetic failsafe? Not a failsafe, a choice, she said softly. You are the only living human who carries that bond. You may be the only one who can calm the weapon inside her before it fully awakens. Elias rubbed his face. I'm a soldier, not a savior. You were chosen by history, not by yourself. He laughed once, not in humor, but disbelief. Why me? Why not just send your people? You must have advanced tech. We do. But even our best science cannot replace the living bond. Your presence, your biology, it may link with hers in a way nothing else can. We cannot force you. But we cannot find another. There was silence again. Then, Elias looked at her with a soldier's steady eyes. What happens if I say no? The queen didn't hesitate. Then she dies, slowly, and with her, The bond between our people may die too. Elias stood, thinking hard. He had seen death. He had seen war, pain, betrayal, but this was different. It wasn't a fight with guns or fleets. It was a quiet battle inside someone he had never met, and somehow, he was the only weapon that might save her. He turned toward the door but didn't leave. "I want to meet her," he said at last. Queen Althea nodded once. "Prepare yourself, human. Your presence may be her only hope." Commander Elias Rourke followed the silent Viraxi guards down a long corridor. Inside the royal vessel, the walls glowed with soft green light, pulsing like a heartbeat. The air was warm and carried a strange scent, part metal, part flowers. Alien and alive, he had seen many things in his years as a soldier: broken moons, dying planets, and even peace between enemies. But nothing felt quite like this. The queen had told him her daughter needed him, that his blood might stop a weapon hiding inside her, a weapon that could kill her and possibly start a war. Now, he was about to meet her. The doors ahead opened with a low hum. Inside was a quiet chamber filled with smooth stone and floating crystal lights. There were no guards, no machines, just one figure standing at the center of the room. Princess Serixa. She stood tall, nearly as tall as Elias, wearing ceremonial armor made of shimmering scales. Her skin was pale violet, smooth and glowing gently under the lights. Her long dark hair was tied behind her head with golden bands, and her sharp eyes, deep purple and unreadable, looked right into him. Elias straightened. He wasn't sure if he should bow, salute, or stand still. He chose to speak. "I'm Commander Elias Rourke of Earth." She looked him over slowly, her expression unreadable. "I know who you are," she said, her voice calm but cool. "You are the human my mother brought here." Elias nodded. "She told me you're in danger, something in your blood." Serix's eyes flickered, just for a moment. She turned away and walked to a glowing pool of light at the center of the room. "I don't need saving," she said. "I need answers." Elias frowned. "I thought you—" "I know what she told you," Serixa interrupted. "Then I carry a weapon inside me, that your blood is the key to stopping it." She turned to face him again, this time with more emotion in her voice. "But I never asked for this. Not the power, not the danger, not you." Elias stepped closer, his voice steady. "I didn't ask for this either. But here we are." There was silence between them for a moment. Then Serixa said, "Do you know what they call me behind closed doors? The ticking bomb. That's what I've become. My own people fear me. Scientists study me. My mother hides her worry behind her crown." Elias looked at her carefully. Beneath her strong voice and proud stance, he could see it fear. Not of others, of herself. "I've been called worse," he said with a small smile. "But I get it, being seen as a weapon, not a person." Serixa looked surprised. "You? I was a soldier for 20 years, he said. "Some call me a hero. Others call me a machine. After a while, I stopped caring what they call me. I just wanted to survive." Serixa studied him, then slowly nodded. "Maybe we're not so different." She walked to a small table nearby and picked up a crystal disc. She held it out to him. "This contains what we know about the code inside me. The weapon is called the Hex of Thoraxis. It was made long ago by our ancestors, bioengineered, hidden in royal bloodlines, never meant to awaken." Elias took the disc and slid it into the translator on his wrist. A soft voice began explaining. "The Hex is a defense protocol created during the ancient Viraxi Wars. Once activated, it releases psychic energy capable of disabling entire fleets. Only a living genetic countercode such as one formed through the old Bonkin comet." Elias looked up. "So it's a bomb, but alive." "Yes," Serixa said quietly, "and it's waking up inside me." Elias stepped forward. "Then let's stop it." She looked at him, unsure. "Even if it works, the bond could hurt you. It might change you." He gave a half shrug. "I've been through worse." A silence settled again, but this time it was softer. Not cold, not angry, just heavy with what came next. Finally, Serixa walked to a console at the edge of the room and pressed her hand to it. A soft blue glow appeared, and a chair rose from the floor. "If we do this," she said, "you must sit here. Our minds will link through biosignal fusion. You will see parts of my memories. I will see yours." Elias raised an eyebrow. "That's personal." She gave a slight smile for the first time. "Very." Elias sat in the chair. The surface warm and smooth. Thin arcs of light circled his arms and temples. Serixa sat across from him, mirroring his position. "Close your eyes," she said softly. He did. The machine activated with a hum. Instantly, his mind filled with flashes, not visions. Not dreams, but her childhood, her training, the first moment she felt the hex stir inside her. He felt her fear, her strength, her loneliness, and then he felt her feel him, his battles, his regrets, the friends he lost, the day he left the army, the moment he thought he'd never matter again. The connection grew stronger. The hex inside her pulsed like a storm. But as their minds connected, the storm slowed. Bit by bit, her energy calmed. His presence steadied it. The weapon wasn't gone, but it paused. The machine shut down with a soft beep. Elias opened his eyes slowly. Serixa looked stunned but alive. Her breathing was steady. It worked. She whispered, "For now," Elias replied, breathing hard. "But we're not done yet." She nodded, serious again. "The hex isn't finished with me, and someone in the palace wants to see it fully awaken." Elias sat up. "Then we find them and stop them before it's too late." Commander Elias Rourke stood at the edge of a strange circular chamber, deep within the Viraxi sanctuary moon known as Elthrax. The room was ancient, older than any Earth building, with smooth stone walls covered in glowing runes. The air buzzed with a quiet energy, like a storm waiting to break. He wasn't here for a fight, not with weapons. Anyway, he was here for a test. Queen Althea had made it clear, before Elias could become fully bonded to Serixa and help her control the hex, he had to pass the trial of truth, a sacred Viraxi ceremony. It wasn't just tradition. The bond between him and the princess could not deepen unless he was proven clean of spirit. That meant facing the darkest corners of his own mind. "Are you ready?" asked Serixa. Standing nearby, Elias gave a small nod, though he wasn't. Sure he was. "What happens in there? You will walk through your own memories," she explained. "The chamber reads your thoughts and feelings. It shows you the moments you fear, the things you hide. If you survive them without breaking, the bond becomes complete. And if I break?" Serixa didn't answer. She didn't need to. A tall priestess stepped forward, her robes glowing softly. "Step into the circle, human. The trial will begin." Elias took a deep breath and walked forward. The circle beneath him lit up, surrounding him with warm light. The moment he stepped inside, the world shifted. The chamber disappeared. He was no longer on a moon, no longer in alien space. Instead, he stood on a burning battlefield, the siege of Erlon V. His worst memory. The sky was red, full of fire and falling debris. Screams echoed in the distance. Smoke stung his eyes. And then he saw them, his old squad. They were alive, running, calling out to him, "Rourke, this way." He knew this moment. He had lived it, and he had made a choice, one that haunted him ever since. A building had been collapsing. His squad was inside, but there had been a civilian shuttle in danger too. A family, children. He could only save one. And he had saved the children. He tried to shout at the memory, tried to warn his squad, to tell them to run. But the scene played out just as it had all those years ago. The building fell. His team was buried in flames, and he stood there, powerless, back in the real chamber. Serixa watched from outside the circle. The priestess stood beside her. "He's been in there too long," Serixa said quietly. "The memory is strong. He must face it fully." Said the priestess. "Only then will he be judged." Inside the trial, Elias dropped to his knees. He was breathing hard. The weight of the memory pressed down like a mountain. But this time, something was different. He heard a voice, her voice. Se or Axa. Not speaking in words, but a calm presence in his mind. A reminder, you made a choice to save lives. You did not fail. You chose hope. He looked up. And for the first time, he saw the civilians, the family he had saved. The small child waving from the shuttle, the mother crying in relief. Dozens alive. Because of his decision. Tears slipped down his cheek, but he stood. The memory faded into mist. The chamber reappeared. The trial was over. Elias collapsed to one knee. Breathing deeply, Serixa rushed to him. You did it. You came back. He looked at her, still shaking. That was worse than any war. But you passed, she said. You didn't run from your truth. The priestess stepped forward. The bond is ready to deepen. You are proven. Suddenly, a new voice echoed through the chamber. Cold, sharp. No, he must not finish the bond. Everyone turned. A tall figure stepped from the shadows. High Lord Veron, one of the queen's advisors. His eyes burned with anger. You, Serixa said, stepping in front of Elias. You were against the bond from the start. Veron sneered. The Hex should awaken. It is our right to hold power again. You let this human poison your blood with weakness. He raised a strange device. Energy sparked around it. Serixa reached for her weapon, but Elias stood first. I've fought people like you, he said calmly, power-hungry, afraid of peace. Veron hissed. Peace is for the small. He fired the device, but Elias moved. Fast, he rolled forward, grabbing a fallen stone and smashing the device from Veron's hand. Serixa followed with a quick strike, knocking the traitor back. Guards arrived seconds later, dragging Veron away. The priestess, still calm, said, The trial is complete. The threat has revealed itself. Now the path forward is clear. Later that night, Elias sat with Serixa in a quiet garden aboard the royal ship. The stars outside were calm, far away. You saved me, she said. He smiled. We're not done yet. She looked at him, thoughtful. I felt your guilt during the trial. It was heavy. But I also felt your heart. You care. Even when it hurts. Elias looked up at the stars. That's what makes us human, Serixa nodded. Then I'm glad I carry part of that now, as the stars shimmered outside. The bond between human and alien grew stronger, not just in blood, but in trust. But unknown to them, Veron's plan had only begun, and the Hex was still waking. The royal biotemple was unlike anything Elias Rourke had ever seen. It was alive. The walls of the chamber pulsed gently, glowing in soft blue and green patterns. The floor felt warm underfoot, like skin instead of stone. Strange plants grew along the edges, their vines weaving into the ceiling like living wires. This was the heart of the Viraxi vessel, the place where ancient technology and biology worked as one. At the center of the temple stood a raised platform, surrounded by rings of light. It was here the final bond would happen. Elias looked around, unsure. He had faced war, death, and fear, but this was personal. This was not just about stopping a weapon. This was about linking his life, his thoughts, and even his blood to a royal alien girl. Princess Serixa stood nearby, quiet and serious. Her ceremonial armor had been replaced by a simpler robe of dark silver and green. She looked strong but tense, as if holding back a storm. Queen Althea stood beside the high priestess, watching silently. Serixa turned to Elias. Once we do this, there is no turning back. I know, he said. Let's finish what we started. The priestess stepped forward and raised her hands. Let the bond begin. Two clear capsules opened on the platform, one for Elias, one for Serixa. They both stepped in. The process was simple but dangerous. Tiny biodrones floated down, glowing with golden light. They moved around Elias and Serixa, scanning every part of them. The machines weren't metal. They were living things, grown in labs, made for one purpose: to complete the ancient genetic bond. The queen watched closely. Her face showed no emotion, but her fingers were clenched tight. As the drones spun, Elias felt a warmth in his chest, then a sharp prick in his arm. He didn't flinch. A thin needle had slipped into his skin, drawing blood. At the same time, another needle touched Serixa. The blood from both moved into the center of the temple, mixing in a glowing sphere. Then, the drones began creating the final link of living. chain of cells and memory, spirit and thought. Elias suddenly felt dizzy. Flashes filled his mind. He saw Syrinx's memories again, her first flight, her lonely nights, her fear of what she had become. Then he felt her sense of wonder as she had watched Earth through a telescope. She had always wanted to know more about humans, about him. At the same time, Syrinx saw his life again, his battles, his jokes with old friends, the way he stood alone after the war, lost and forgotten. But through all of it, she felt his strength, not just his body but his will. The bond was growing. Suddenly, the glowing sphere pulsed with red light. A loud tone rang out. The priestess gasped. Queen Althea stepped forward. What's happening? The priestess looked alarmed. There is interference. Something is trying to block the link. Syrinx's eyes flew open. It's the hex. Elias struggled to breathe. His mind felt like fire. The weapon inside Syrinxa was fighting the bond. It didn't want to be calm. It wanted to survive, grow control. The chamber shook. Vines pulled back. The walls turned a deep red. From outside, guards shouted. There was movement in the corridors. An attack. No, said the queen. It's not an attack. It's coming from inside her. The hex was reacting, trying to take control. Elias gritted his teeth. I can hold it. Just finish the process. Syrinxa cried out. You'll die if we push it too far. I didn't come all this way to give up. Elias growled. I faced worse than this. She looked into his eyes, saw the truth in them, and nodded. Together, they focused. Syrinxa reached out mentally, guiding the link. Elias pushed back against the pressure in his head. The hex screamed in their minds, a noise made of rage and pain. But slowly, the red light faded. The glowing sphere calmed. The energy softened. Then silence. The chamber turned blue again. The vines relaxed. The machines pulled back. Elias dropped to his knees, breathing hard. His nose bled. But he was alive. Syrinxa stood still for a moment, her eyes wide. Then she smiled. I can feel it, she said quietly. The hex, it's quiet now. It's still inside me. But it's asleep. Elias nodded weakly. Then we did it. Queen Althea stepped forward, her voice full of emotion. You have done more than I ever hoped for. You didn't just stop the weapon. You gave my daughter a future. Elias tried to stand, glad I could help. But before he could say more, a young guard rushed into the room, out of breath. Your Majesty, we've intercepted a signal. Someone in the court has sent a message to a rebel fleet. They know the hex was bonded. They're coming to take her. Everyone went silent. Syrinxa turned to Elias. They won't stop. They'll try to use me as a weapon, or destroy me. Elias clenched his fists. Then we stopped them first. The queen looked at them both. This bond has given us hope, but now you must protect it, together. Later that night, Elias stood by a window overlooking space. Stars drifted by in silence. Syrinxa joined him, quiet. You almost died, she said. He smiled. You almost did too. They stood together in silence for a moment. I've never felt anything like that bond, she said. It was like I could feel every part of you. Elias nodded. That's because it wasn't just blood. It was truth. She looked at him, thoughtful. We may have won today, but a storm is coming. He looked into the stars. Then let it come. The silence in the royal citadel shattered like glass. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and the steady hum of the Viraxi ship turned into chaotic noise. Commander Elias Rourke snapped to attention. The calm of the bio-temple had ended. Now, they were under attack. Princess Syrinxa, Elias called, grabbing her arm. We need to move now. Syrinxa nodded, eyes sharp. The rebels are here. They want to take me in the hex. The Viraxi guards poured into the corridors, weapons drawn, faces tense. Elias quickly gathered a small team, some trusted human allies and loyal Viraxi warriors. They had no time for plans. This was a fight for survival. Listen up, Elias barked. They want to use the hex as a weapon. We can't let that happen. Protect the princess at all costs. Hold the corridors, slow them down. We'll find a way to end this. The group moved like shadows through the ship's twisting halls Every corner could hide an enemy. Every step could be a trap suddenly. The door at the end of the corridor burst open. Rebel fighters stormed in masked, armed, and brutal. Elias fired his pulse rifle, sending bright bolts of energy through the air. The Viraxi warriors joined, their alien blades flashing with deadly skill. The two sides clashed in a storm of light and sound. Amid the chaos, Syrixa stayed close to Elias, her face pale but determined. We have to get her to the command center. Elias shouted over the noise. From there, we can call reinforcements. They fought their way through corridors and chambers, the rebels relentless. It was clear. This was a Kuan inside job. Someone from the Queen's own court had betrayed them. At last, they reached the command center. The room was dim, with holographic star maps flickering in blue light. Elias locked the door behind them and activated the comm system. Send a distress call to Earth and all loyal Viraxi fleets. He ordered, tell them the Hex is under threat. Suddenly, the door shook violently. Rebels were trying to break in. Syrixa stepped forward, hands glowing with psychic energy. She focused the Hex in a pulse that slammed into the door. Holding it back just for a moment, Elias looked at her, amazed. You're stronger than I thought. She smiled faintly. You haven't seen anything yet. The fight stretched on for hours. They were outnumbered but not outmatched. Elias's tactics, combined with the Viraxi warriors' skill and Syrix's growing control over the Hex, held the rebels at bay. But then, a crushing truth hit Elias like a blow. Who betrayed us? He demanded, breathing hard. A guard stepped forward, face grim. High Lord Veron. He's leading the rebels. He wants the Hex to awaken fully. He believes it will bring the Viraxi glory again. Elias clenched his fists. That traitor won't win. Just then, the door shattered. Veron stormed in, flanked by armed guards. Commander Rourke, Veron sneered. You delay the future. The Hex belongs to the strong, to the Viraxi who will rule the stars. Elias stepped forward, pulse rifle ready. You'll never take her. Veron laughed coldly. We shall see. A fierce battle broke out. Elias fought side by side with Syrixa, their bond growing stronger with every move. They fought not just for survival, but for the future of two species. In the end, Elias found himself face to face with Veron. The traitor was fast and deadly, but Elias was steady and smart, with a well-placed strike. Elias disarmed Veron and forced him to surrender. The rebels were rounded up. The Queen's loyalists regained control. But Elias knew the fight was not over. That night, in the quiet of the royal ship, Elias and Syrixa sat side by side. The stars outside were bright and still. You saved us, Syrixa said softly. He shook his head. We saved each other. She looked at him, eyes full of hope and fear. What now? She asked. We prepare, Elias replied. The Hex is quiet, but the galaxy is full of enemies who want power. We have to be ready to protect it and each other. Syrixa nodded. I'm glad you're here, Elias. He smiled. So am I. Together, they looked out into the stars of promise, of peace, and the knowledge that darkness still lurked beyond. The grand hall of the Viraxi Palace was filled with the light of distant stars and the hum of quiet conversation. Today was the day of the Earth Viraxi Peace Summit, a historic event that could change the fate of two species. Commander Elias Rourke stood near the entrance, dressed in a simple but formal uniform. His eyes scanned the crowd. There were diplomats, soldiers, scientists, both human and Viraxi. Some faces were friendly, others held old doubts and fears. But most important of all, Queen Althera and Princess Syrixa were here. The Queen's regal presence was as strong as ever. She walked with a calm confidence, her crown glowing softly in the hall's light. Beside her, Syrixa was no longer the worried princess Elias had first met. She stood tall, her violet eyes bright and filled with hope. Elias felt a strange mix of pride and humility. He had come a long way from a lone soldier summoned without warning to the honored guardian of the Viraxi crown. The Queen approached him and gave a small nod of thanks. Commander, she said quietly, you have done more than save my daughter. You have saved our future. Elias bowed his head slightly. I only did what I could. Serixa stepped forward, her voice clear. You showed us what it means to be strong, but also to care. Humanity has much to teach us. The summit began with speeches and the signing of new treaties. But beneath the formal words, real progress was made. The bond between Elias and Serixa was proof that two very different species could find common ground, even share a life. After the summit, Elias was invited to speak with the Queen privately. In the quiet of her chambers, Queen Althera looked at him thoughtfully. There's a choice before you, Elias, she said. You can remain here. With us, you can become the first human ambassador to the Viraxi Empire. Elias shook his head. I've never wanted power. I just want to help. Power is not always about ruling, the Queen said. Sometimes it is about responsibility. You carry the hope of both our peoples. Elias looked away. I'm just a soldier. I don't know if I'm ready. The Queen smiled gently. You have already shown you are more than that. Your strength is not in your weapons, but in your heart. Days later, Elias stood on the bridge of a starship bound for Earth. Serixa was with him. She was no longer a princess waiting for rescue. She was a leader, a symbol of a new alliance. They looked out at the stars together. Two very different beings joined by trust and hope. Serixa spoke quietly. What now? Elias smiled. Now, we build a future. For both our worlds. She nodded. Together, as the ship jumped to faster than light speed. Elias thought of the journey ahead, one not just of war or survival, but of peace, friendship, and the promise of humanity.